Context in writing. Why it's your superpower. If you're reading this, you probably understand the fundamentals of writing. Grammar, structure, syntax. These are the nuts and bolts that keep your writing functioning. But context? That's the engine. It's what takes your words from meh to whoa. So let's talk about context in writing, what it is, why it matters, and how to wield it like a pro. First, let's define what we mean by context. In its simplest form, context is the environment in which something exists, cultural, historical, emotional. It's the backdrop against which your message, story, or argument is placed. Without it, you're just throwing words into the void, hoping they land somewhere meaningful. When you nail the context, your writing doesn't just communicate, it connects. Why does context matter? Let's break it down. It shapes understanding. Context gives readers the lens they need to interpret your message correctly. For instance, a sentence like, "The man got off the train," means one thing in a murder mystery and something completely different in a personal narrative. Same sentence, different context, completely different reactions. Without context, your audience is lost. It adds depth. Think of your writing like a stage play. The plot, the characters, they're just the surface. The magic happens when you set the stage, build the world, and create an atmosphere. Context allows for deeper connections and richer experiences. It turns a simple statement into something resonant. Context is your chance to give your audience a front row seat to the narrative you're creating. It reflects your audience. This is the tricky part. If you're writing for a specific audience, context determines how you communicate with them. Are you writing for 20-somethings who love a meme, or CEOs who need clarity and brevity? Context in writing is everything in knowing how to speak their language. The same point can land with a thud if you miss the mark on tone, reference, or cultural relevance. Now, how do you incorporate context effectively? 1. Know your reader. Before you even start writing, ask yourself, who is reading this, and what do they already know? A finance expert won't need you to explain what ROI stands for, but a casual reader will be lost if you drop that term without context. Understanding your reader's background is your first step in framing your context. 2. Provide necessary backstory. Context doesn't always mean providing a ton of exposition, but sometimes a bit of history, detail, or explanation is critical. If you're writing about a modern political issue, drop a reference to a past event. If you're writing about a character who's going through a tough time, show us why they're struggling. The right backstory doesn't overwhelm, it enhances the narrative. 3. Use the right tone and language. Context doesn't just live in the plot, it's in every sentence. The tone of your writing reflects your context, whether it's formal, informal, humorous, or somber. Think about how language shapes context. "That's cool" means something very different coming from a teen than from a business executive. 4. Don't over-explain. There's a fine line between providing enough context and overloading your reader. It's like a good cocktail. You want to balance the ingredients, not drown them in mixers. Give just enough detail to guide the reader, but trust them to fill in the gaps. Keep it sharp. 5. Context is a moving target. Context changes. The way we talk about certain issues evolves. Historical events gain new perspectives over time. In writing, you've got to be attuned to the shifting landscape. If you're writing something that could be read years from now, be aware that your context may need to carry the weight of evolving trends. Context is the invisible force that shapes your writing. Nail it, and you don't just inform, you resonate. It's like adding layers to a piece of art. Each choice deepens the meaning. If you can master context, you won't just write well, you'll write with purpose. And in writing, purpose is power. Thanks for listening. Catch the Quiet Quotient on all your favorite podcast platforms and connect with me on my LinkedIn page.